Story 1, SKYN because I would itch after using other condoms. I figured I might have a latex allergy, and now I no longer itch after. Story 2, first of all, SKYN because it does not smell terrible. Second, I and any other person I have talked to in real life agree that wearing a condom is not that bad, and people on Reddit tend to make it sound worse than it actually is. Story 3, thankfully they are not needed right now, but when I do skin, my wife is allergic to latex, and we tried many non-latex brands to find something decent. I think one of the Trojan brands was the worst. It felt like the Johnson was being strangled by inflexible plastic. Story 4, little own brand because they were cheap. Once bought Durex Featherlight, which was super thin for his pleasure, and I couldn't get it on. That's not a boast because I would much rather have had sex. Strictly without a condom now after my vasectomy. Story 5, Trojan Magnum so it does not stop or slow my blood flow too much. To be honest, I have only tried a few others, and they did not help. On the contrary, they were detrimental to my enjoyment and ability to focus. That said, I would be happy to try a few more that people recommend to see if they enhance the enjoyment for me and my partner. Story 6, I absolutely hate to use condoms. However, when I have to, I only use a brand called My Size. They fit better than any others I have tried. Story 7, Durex Tropical Flavor. I like performing oral sex on women, so I use these to avoid tasting spermicide every time. Story 8, My Size Pro. I use it if I am unsure about the person, or if they tell me they may not be fully clean and I go beyond the second opening. Story 9, 001 Polyurethane, Sagami for example, and at 10 Eunuch. I barely felt the difference during the time I used them. If sexually transmitted infections are not a concern, you could look into thermal male birth control, Androswitch/Slipshoffen. No hormones, reversible Pearl Index 0.5. License and approval will be granted after the ongoing study in 2028. It is already available to buy or do it yourself. There are about 20,000 users already. I have been using it for 2 years now. Story 10, no. My wife does not like the feeling, so we have been practicing unsafe sex since we started dating about 8 years ago. Story 11, yes, but I hate it. The best brand I have tried was My Size, but I have to order them online. Magnum Extra Large are the best that I have used from stores in the United States of America. Story 12, yes, my favorite was Mate's Originals because they fit the best, but you cannot buy them over the counter anymore. I bought a box of Durex from a pharmacy when my girlfriend and I first started having sex with mixed results. We tried Mate's SKYNS to see if they made any difference. Story 13, never used one. Did not have sex until I got married. I am still married to her. She is on birth control. Story 14, not anymore. I am currently monogamous with my wife. We have been together for almost 7 years and married for 2. We both got tested before any intercourse. Before I met her, and on rare occasions with her during birth control lapse periods, I have used SKYNS for years. An ex of mine had a latex allergy and introduced me to SKYNS, and I have never looked back. They are better than standard condoms in my opinion. Story 15, favorite, SKYN. They feel good and do not smell. Least favorite, Lelo Hex. If even one of the small hexagons breaks, the condom becomes ineffective, and you probably will not be able to tell. They are also expensive and do not feel that good. Story 16, I consider myself average. I used to use Trojan bare skin condoms but kept breaking them. I switched to Magnum condoms and never had a problem. Now I have not used one in more than 10 years. Story 17, I have not used condoms in quite some time and never plan to go back. When I did use them, I just used regular Trojan condoms. Story 18, because 40 cents for a condom is cheaper than $300,000 for a child. I use Trojan condoms just because. I don't have any brand loyalty or anything. Story 19, I refuse to not use a condom. Sure, I have not had sex for some years, but not using a condom would be unacceptable. I do not have a brand preference as long as it is the correct size. Story 20. Yes, if I don't know the girl or trust her contraception method. Contrary to what most men will tell you, the brand does not really matter. Modern condoms are all pretty fine, not like in the 90s where some could be rather thick. Story 21. Well, I am married now, so I have not had to use them for quite some time. When I did use condoms, Crown condoms were always the best, better than SKYN in my opinion. However, they are made of latex, so keep that in mind. Story 22. Please note the condoms you buy online are the best I have found. Married, 41, and hopeful for a vasectomy for Christmas. Story 23. Not anymore and probably never again, because I have had a vasectomy and my wife is allergic to latex. It was kind of strange the first time we had sex on our third date. It was like, wait, we have known each other for a week and a half, and she is asking me not to use a condom? That had never happened before. I used condoms in my bachelor days, at least until relationships reached the point where we completely trusted each other regarding sexually transmitted infections. I got the vasectomy when I was young and single because I have always known I did not want children. So, I have been happily sterile for most of my sexually active life. Fear of accidental pregnancy was never an issue. Story 24. I use Trustex. In my experience, it is about as close to nothing as it gets. It is one of the few brands that still lets you feel the warmth. Story 25. If you go to Thailand and engage in risky behavior, buy your condoms. The professionals use the smallest and cheapest ones imaginable. I haven't seen SKYN condoms here. There are some Japanese 0.01mm options or similar. I don't use condoms personally, but I get health checks regularly. Story 26. Trojan bearskin raw latex free. I can't understand how regular older versions of condoms still exist unless maybe it is because they dull sensation so much and men need that to last longer. Not a good solution in my opinion, but I digress. I am going to try the SKYN brand to compare. For reference, I am in a monogamous and actually faithful relationship, and I use condoms just to finish, not for the whole act. Story 27. I've used Trojan Natural Lamb with a lot of success. They are more expensive than latex condoms and do not protect against sexually transmitted diseases. However, they transfer heat better and feel much more natural than any other condom I have used. Just do not think too much about what they are made from. Story 28. I use regular Trojan condoms with numbing cream inside. I recommend them if you haven't had sex in a while, as they help keep your stamina in check. However, if you have sex regularly and already have good stamina, I do not recommend using them. I used them when in a long-term relationship, and after a while I would just be going for a long time, which no longer felt enjoyable. Story 29. Not anymore. I am in my 40s and have been married and divorced. Now I believe that if I think I need a condom, then there is not enough trust in the relationship. Story 30. I have been married for almost a decade. We do not use condoms, but she got an intrauterine device a couple of years ago after our child was born. I would like to have another child if we had the financial means and my health issues were not prevalent. I am looking to get a vasectomy in the near future. Story 31. Magnum Raw. I think it feels the best. After that, PS. Good times and then SKYN. Truth be told, I very rarely have sex, so it is not like I compare, but it sort of feels like those are my three favorites. I do remember the last time I tried SKYN. I was hyped about them and did not think they made sex more amazing than it already was. Story 32. I use Trojan condoms because they already come lubricated and are one size fits all. There are different types of Trojan condoms that make the sexual experience a little different. Story 33. Always. Even if she says she is on the birth control pill, I get nervous about the 1% chance I could get her pregnant if she is taking it correctly or at all, and the higher chance if she is not. I am neurotic, I know. I prefer magnums. Story 34. If you want to feel everything, I would go to Japanese condoms if you are not on the larger size. They are super thin and do not taste like anything. I personally use Sagami 0.01 or Okamoto 0.01 bought on eBay. They are more expensive compared to other brands, but they are also thinner than anything you can get in the United States, even the ultra-thin ones. If you want something convenient, SKYN Supreme Feel or Trojan Bearskin are good. Story 35. Skin to avoid latex allergy problems with potential partners. Once we decide on exclusivity, typically no condoms at all. Story 36. Wearing a condom is not bad at all. I will say that putting lubricant on the inside and some on the outside is best. While using a condom is not bad, unprotected sex absolutely feels better. It might also be a mental thing for me. That being said, if you are not willing to bring a baby into this world or catch some sexually transmitted diseases, use a condom. Story 37. For me, it's all about size, fit, and availability. I don't really care who makes them. Trojan Magnum, Magnum Extra Large, and SKYN Elite Large are the only ones I can find in my local drugstores that fit well. Regular sizes I can't feel anything. They cut off the blood flow, can break especially without enough lubricant, and make my penis look like a tube of meat with no definition. Magnum comes in different shapes and textures, such as ribbed and thin. Magnum Extra Large only comes in one shape and no textures. Extra large textured condoms are non-existent or extremely hard to find. Story 38. I do not like to use condoms. I would much rather wait to have sex and both share negative tests. However, I will use them if a partner wants me to. I am either great at withdrawal or infertile because I do not have children yet. Anyway, brand does not matter as long as it fits me. Standard condoms do not fit, and I end up breaking them more often than not. Story 39. SKYN is a good option. I am currently using the Trojan non-latex condoms. They are good, but SKYN offers more breathing room. The Trojan non-latex condoms are lubricated on the inside, but to be honest, they are not the most comfortable. Always wear one, brother. Story 40. I have not in about 10 years. I only sleep with women I am in a relationship with, which now is my wife, so go me. I always get regularly tested and ask my partners to do the same. Plus, now being married, if we end up pregnant, we are both fine with that happening. Story 41. I've been married a long time, but before marriage, I used Durex condoms because there wasn't a huge competitive market back in the 1980s. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome was a new plague that was killing people, and Trojan condoms were so thick that it was like putting on a bicycle inner tube. Also, the second time I bought them, Durex came with a cool little six-pack wallet specifically for condoms. It was great. Story 42. I avoided them for years because of a history of breakage and the fact that most squeeze you so hard at the base that it is quite painful to reach climax. How are so many men okay with that feeling? Like climaxing with a cock ring on. Durex and SKYN have some newer types that are great. Trojan has always had a good one, but it is expensive. Story 43. Mr. Size and my size both have testing kits and a wide range of offers. You can genuinely find a good fitting one rather than make do with the one your friend gave you, probably the extra large one he bought to impress a girl and has been carrying in his wallet past the expiration date. Joking aside, you will only find your correct size by testing, so go for it. Story 44. Trojan Magnum Extra Large condoms work well for me. I have a large penis and regular condoms do not fit properly. If my girth were smaller, I could probably use regular size condoms. However, normal sizes constrict my penis, causing discomfort and often breaking. I had to get a larger size, and now it no longer feels tight. My wife and I are trying to have another child, so we will not be using condoms in the near future. Story 45. SKYN Elite. That is the way forward. However, an occasional Durex one has occurred. Also, I have tried the both pleasure option, and it is not satisfactory. Story 46. Sagami 0.01 seconds. They are expensive, but it is like flying business class. Once you have done it, you find it difficult to go back. They are polyurethane, so there are no issues with latex allergies. Story 47. I buy Four Seasons. They are the only brand I can easily purchase that offers thin condoms in a size that is comfortable for me. Story 48. Not with my partner. To be honest, condoms are for when you sleep with someone you recently met. Once you and your partner get tested and are in a committed relationship, there is no need. There are other ways to prevent pregnancy or at least reduce the chances. Story 49. I swear by Mr. Size / My Size condoms. Great selection of sizes by length and width. Personally, they feel better than other brands I have tried. Story 50. Durex non-latex was my go-to for the last bit before I got the vasectomy. I wore condoms for 20 years of marriage. We have 3 biological children and 1 fostered and adopted child. The vasectomy man. The vasectomy. Story 51. Whenever I have used them, I have had almost zero casual sex. The super thin Japanese ones. If I have to go to a normal store, SKYN. Story 52. SKYN condoms do not make you smell like latex. If you choose the ones with extra lubricant, they have a pleasant scent and the lubricant feels nice. It is also easier than applying lubricant at the moment when you just want to be intimate. They fit my penis quite well, and I feel more sensation with them on. I have never had a SKYN condom break. I have experienced several breakages with Trojan condoms, regardless of the size or style, but never with SKYN. Story 53. No. I find it difficult to maintain an erection while wearing a condom, and I end up losing firmness in the middle of sex without ejaculating, so I just have sex without a condom. Story 54. Recently had a vasectomy, which is amazing. Prior to that, my go-to condoms were SKYN Elite. If you are looking for speedy and unique condoms, they are pretty incredible. A little strange to get used to, but the closest to natural I have experienced. Story 55. Before I was married, I did. Usually SKYN. They seem to be decent quality and do not cause latex issues. A little lubricant on the inside tip helps, especially if you are uncircumcised. Story 56. My one as no other condoms fit. It took me too long to realize condoms are not awful. Most brands just did not fit. Story 57. Durex Sensitivo Thin Feel, 144 pieces. I have tested probably something like 15 to 20 condoms. I used to break a lot of them with my first girlfriend. Then the same happened with my second girlfriend. At some point, I realized that none of my friends broke them, so I started trying different ones and learned that a nominal width of 56 millimeters made a huge difference. Most of the condoms I had used were 54 millimeters or 53 millimeters. I tried SKYN, which were superior, but I still use Durex Sensitivo because I can buy a year's worth of condoms for about 50 euros. Story 58. Not on birth control. As a woman, I really like Lelahex. So close to going without protection. SKYN was tried once and was not bad, but it has added fragrance, which some women are allergic to. Story 59. Absolutely get fitted condoms. My favorite was My Size, but there is also My One. SKYN seems to be popular, but there are only a few sizes, and from what I remember, they are not as stretchy. I do not see the point if there is no latex allergy. Story 60. Panty-sensitive condoms, the pink ones, have been the closest to bareback I have ever felt. They are inexpensive if bought in bulk, costing 11 pence each. They even have a pleasant vanilla scent. Story 61. Unfortunately, none are big enough. Just kidding, I use SKYN because I don't want a latex allergy interfering. Story 62. We use Trojan brand condoms. We have only had one break in extended use. Otherwise, we replace them if they become dried out. Neither of us minds using condoms. Story 63. No condoms. Monogamous relationship, and even if not, if a woman said condoms are a condition of sex, I would just pass on the sex. I would rather masturbate myself than wear one. Story 64. I like to have sex, but without the use of a condom. The sex is better that way. The rest of the song does not apply to me. If you withdraw in time, you will be fine. Story 65. I don't as much anymore. The problem I've had is that so many brands feel very different. 3 different brands with medium feel like 3 different sizes. It's weird. Story 66. I have never had sex before, but I would definitely use contraception if the opportunity arose, because I cannot afford taking care of children in this economy. Story 67. Yes, because I need that protection. Why else? I love using the Trojan brand, specifically the Trojan ENZ. Story 68. Absolutely not. I cannot reach orgasm or feel anything. Sex feels like watching a point-of-view adult movie, but I cannot touch myself. Story 69. 100% yes until I know a person better and we are officially in an established, closed relationship. I prefer my one or one due to their customizable size options for the perfect fit. Story 70. Literally anything that fits. I live in a place without many options. Most stores carry one type from one brand. I barely fit in them. One pregnancy scare at 18 is all it took. Story 71. If you get tested and are in a relationship, I really don't understand using condoms. The pull-out method is very effective. What I don't understand even more is, do people not understand ovulation? That is literally the only time a woman can conceive, so just track your cycle and there is no need for condoms. Story 72. I did a little bit in the past, but I generally stopped after about a month with any of my girlfriends. All one-night stands were without a condom because I never carried them. In hindsight, that was unwise. I have been using the withdrawal method with my wife since the second time we had sex. It's been 11 years, we don't have any children, and I am beginning to wonder if one of us is infertile or if I have just been very careful. Story 73. Parenty. I tried a few different ones when starting out and found their king size to be the best fit among a number of brands and sizes. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.